we could get canceled for this. I guess me and Gabrielle could get canceled for this. We put up our Christmas tree. This is 2 years running now. We
put up your Christmas tree. That is, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Actually, a lot of boldness there.
A lot of boldness. We proud.
Do you guys always do that?
2 years now. I guess it's our Halloween tradition at this point because this is the second year.
How old is your daughter?
She'll be 2 in January.
Okay.
Yeah.
For me, like Christmas, the season had like lost its luster a little bit.
Right.
And then like now with Harper, who's 4, everything's the greatest thing in the world.
Oh yeah.
So I used to be like, do not, whatever you do, don't put up your Christmas tree until after Thanksgiving.
Exactly.
That was what my house did.
Yeah.
And then now it's like, I'm like starting to hum Christmas music right now.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, what is going on? I'm like the Grinch where like
Exactly.
my heart starts to grow in size. Yeah. And you hear those jingle bells jingling, and it's one of those things. But that is incredible. Yeah. I really didn't know what you were going to say when you're like, we might get canceled for this. Welcome into Beyond Sunday. My name is Luke. I'm your host, and I am joined by Noah Crouch, Noah is our middle school director here at the Springs. Noah, how are you? Thanks for coming on.
I'm great, man. Thanks so much for having me. This is so much fun.
Yeah, man. How long have you been at the Springs now?
It's been like a year and a half now. It'll be 2 years in May. So I guess that's like a year and a half now.
A year and a half.
Yeah.
Where are you from originally?
I'm originally from New Albany, Indiana. So not here.
And so you end up getting here to the Springs. But you didn't start as the middle school director. What was your first stint at the Springs, actually?
The very first stint was 2019. I came on as an intern for student ministries. Yeah.
What was your like daily responsibilities as an intern? And is it like vastly different than today's interns, or is it kind of the same stuff that you're doing?
Oh yeah, it is vastly different.
Really?
So
Yeah.
I was here like every single day as an intern.
Okay.
Which back in 2019, there wasn't a lot for every single day interns. So I ended up just like popping into people's offices and being like, hey, you got anything you want me to do? And so I was like making books.
The coffee boy.
Literally. I was like, and I loved it because I was like, I was inside the church and that was all I ever wanted to do. So I was like, I would just bind books. I would randomly, back then we got like Mimi's muffins for the deck. I would like go out and get those on Sunday morning and bring them back because I just woke up early enough to do it. And so it was like just random stuff like that. But Wednesdays was really the big day. Yeah. And I was there like from like 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. just doing student ministry stuff.
You just said when you were here and you were kind of just like popping into offices, you're like, I worked at a church, like I'm working at a church, it's what I wanted to do.
Exactly.
I always love asking this. How long before, like when did you know, hey, I would love, like when was the discussion with yourself and with God of like, I would love to work in ministry?
Yeah. It was probably, I want to say like junior, senior in high school. And I was serving in children's ministry at the time at my home church back in Indiana. But the middle school pastor came up to me and asked me, he was like, hey, we got this middle school camp coming up. We're short a few leaders. Do you want to come on this as a leader? And I have no idea why he asked me because I'd never been to a camp as a leader, never led a small group, like nothing. But he just asked me to do it.
Yeah.
And so it was late one night, lights are supposed to be out. This is middle school camp. They are not going to bed for any reason.
Right.
But I was trying my best because I value sleep as a high schooler, junior, senior. And so I'm trying to get these kids to go to sleep desperately. They are not listening. And so what happens is I finally turn off the lights. I finally get them in bed and I lay my head down on my pillow. And all of a sudden I hear all these flashlights clicking on, just like one after the other. And I'm like, please.
You were getting pumped.
No. And I jumped down out of bed and I was like, guys, go to bed. You have no idea what's coming tomorrow, and I need you to sleep.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, we just wanted to read our Bibles. Like the pastor said something in the message tonight. We didn't really understand it, so we wanted to reread it. And I was like, bet. And I grab my Bible, I jump out of bed, I grab my flashlight, and we just sit in this circle and we start reading scripture. Yeah. And so it was like 30, 45 minutes past curfew. We were just like up late reading scripture. And when I went to bed that night, I was like, this is what it means to live. Like there is nothing else on planet Earth that I would rather do than to sit down with people and just read the Bible and unpack what it means.
That's probably the most wholesome middle school story I think we could hear.
Yeah.
And
not a lot of
especially
them.
The ones that entail them staying up past curfew.
Yes. Nothing good happens past curfew except for that one night.
That is awesome. That's incredible. So then you said you were in high school then.
Yeah.
And so from there, like, where did you go for college?
Yeah, I went to Johnson University in Knoxville, Tennessee. It's a small Bible college out in the middle of the woods. And it was a blast, man.
Where did you meet your wife there?
I didn't actually.
Where did you meet her?
I met her here in Ocala. It was after that internship, I came back for a mutual friend's wedding, and we met at that wedding.
Wow.
So,
and then you guys were like, this is a wedding. We were probably going to get married now.
Kind
of. It's a great setting.
It was something like that. Yeah. We just like, I hate dancing at weddings. I hate it so much. And so while everyone was out dancing, I was sitting at a table all by myself, just like texting friends back in Tennessee, like, can't wait to come home, whatever it is. And she saw me sitting at the table being a loner, and she came and sat down, and we just started talking, and then spent the rest of the night talking. And I unknowingly went to her church the next Sunday morning, and then brought her here with me for the 10:30 service. So
wow, you guys,
it's crazy, man.
Head first.
Yeah, literally.
And for those of you guys watching and listening, it is somewhat surprising to me that Noah doesn't like dancing, because Noah is extremely extroverted. And much like myself in that regard, but like his energy is incredible, and he's always willing to be in a social media video or whatever we need. Noah is doing it. So it honestly surprised me that dancing is not your thing.
Dude, I've grown so much. Marriage changes you.
So now, and real quick, can you just talk about your family real quick? Just background for them as well, for the people watching, listening. Your wife, name, kids, all that kind of stuff. Yep.
So I have a beautiful, amazing wife. Her name's Gabriella. We'll be married. It'll be 3 years this November.
Oh, congratulations.
So thank you so much. So it's been an amazing, amazing journey. Gabriella, that's my wife. And then we have a daughter named Evangeline. She is almost 2. So you've been there. Yep. It is just crazy ball of energy. Yep. She woke me up at like 5 a.m. the other day and was like, I'm not going back to bed. We got to go play.
And so the beginning.
Yeah, that's our life right now is like, when are we going to bed? When are we waking up? Who knows? Lord knows. And it's been so much fun, but navigating that.
And I'm sure them for you, that's a huge motivation for you.
Yeah.
But aside from them, because that's a given, what would you say is your motivation, your why? When you get up and you're coming to work in the morning, what is it that motivates you to come to work and also be productive and just continue to crush it with the student ministry?
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, the why is simply like, I've experienced the life-changing power of Jesus. Like, plain and simple, I've experienced that. And I know that he's coming back again someday. And it's like, I don't want people to miss that. Like, I want people desperately to grab a hold of him, experience that life change, and know that he's coming back to make all things new. And so it's like, if you read in Acts or the letters of Paul, it's like these people firmly believed that Jesus was coming back in their lifetime. And there's even one point in like 2 Thessalonians, like they thought they'd missed it and they're freaking out because they're like, we missed Jesus coming back. Like, that's how soon they thought he was coming. And Paul wrote to him, had to reassure him, all of that. But it's like, you look at that obsession over Jesus and his coming again, and they literally flipped the world upside down because they were so obsessed with this one message of he came and he's coming back. And so it's like, every day when I get out of bed, it's like, he hasn't come back yet. That means there's still time. And there's people who need to know Jesus and experience the life change that I know he brings. Yeah. And so that's kind of my motivation, man, is like, whether you're middle schooler, whether you're senior adult, like, it doesn't matter. Like, Jesus is coming back, and I just want people to know that.
Man, that is awesome. And that's something that is, I'd say at church staff, you have to really, really lean into it as a calling and as a ministry, not just this is my 9 to 5.
Right.
Because the moment that your mind shifts to this is a 9 to 5, you lose sight of just the incredible things that Jesus is doing and can do, and who he wants to, be with. Yeah. And I feel like it is probably easy. I mean, for me, who has only been on staff at a church for, I don't even know, 5 months, 6 months. Right. For me, it's easy. But then you look at people that have been here for years and years and years, and it's like, I wonder how hard they fight to, like, does it get harder? You know what I mean? Yeah. Have you ever wondered that? Like, yeah. I think of my dad, who planted the church almost 30 years ago. Right. In a month, it'll be 30 years. And it's like, how is Jesus like just what is the secret? You know what I mean? Because I don't want to lose the fire that I have.
Right.
Because it's been reignited since working at the church.
Yeah.
Right. Like I've believed in Jesus and I've known how good he is.
For sure.
But when you work at a church and then you have our all staff meetings where people are sharing left and right about people that they met or people they invited and just the incredible stories, those are real people. Like everybody has their story. And so I think it can be easy maybe as you work in or longer tenured at a church to lose sight of that. But I do, that's something you and I probably don't really know yet what that path is like.
Yeah.
But we do have a lot of people here at the Springs that have been on staff and still have that fire.
For sure.
It's like, you guys have been here for decades. I think about, my dad, I think about Jimmy Tyner, Lenny Cody, Thomas Pesto, I believe has been here for like 8, 9, 10 years now.
Been a while.
So, and those guys are all fired up still.
Right.
So man, yeah, that's super, super awesome that you shared that. And, definitely one of mine as well, the why for sure.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about Tim Celek's message this past weekend.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which I will go ahead and say it was one of my favorite messages.
Dude, it was so good
that I've heard.
Yeah.
And he just crushed it. And so the overview, people listening to this and watching this probably already know, because that's why they're listening to this, what the message was about. So really, in simplest terms, we can say it's about self-control. Mm-hmm. This whole message is about self-control, but he also throughout just kind of outlines how do we get to the point of self-control?
Yeah.
What plays into it? And so I thought it'd be good if you and I both just kind of talked about our personal favorite takeaways from this message. So I'll let you go first and then I'll give mine.
Awesome. Well, I'll say first off, one of my favorite things about Tim, like whenever he teaches, just from like a teaching perspective, is like he is so ruthlessly like applicational. Yeah. Like you don't walk out of that room asking like, well, what do I do with this? It's like, firmly like this is what I have to do coming out of this message. And playing into that, it's like, my biggest takeaway was I just love this verbiage of prearranged choices, like already having something set in stone, based on who you are, based on your core values, like this is the decision that I am making and I will not waver from this. And so whether you're going into a restaurant or whether you're going into your workplace, whatever it looks like this is my prearranged choice. Based on my core values, I'm not going to do this, or I'm going to stay away from this, so that I can live under self-control. And I just love that, like prearranged choices.
Yeah. And transparently, that was mine as well. Clearly, Noah and I did not talk about it because I wanted it to be kind of a surprise and an actual conversation.
Oh, no.
But that's mine as well. But what I do love is that it wasn't something that's just pertaining to our faith.
Yeah.
It's pertaining to everything.
Right.
It bleeds over. Self-control bleeds into everything.
Yeah.
Tim shared a story that, when he goes to a restaurant, because the craziest part of this message was that he was once 350 pounds.
Yeah, that was wild.
I talked to him after this first service. I was like, hey, great job, man. I was like, could you share with me like where you were at? And all, he was like, yeah, I was 350 pounds. And I think it was Ryan Parquette. He was going through the slides with Tim in the preparation for Sunday. And Ryan just was like, yeah, so you've got this, or maybe it was Andrew Downey. I think it might have been Andrew Downey. Going through the pictures like, yeah, you've got this slide, this graphic, whatever. Then you got the picture of some random dude. And Tim was like, that's me. And it's like everybody collectively could not believe that was Tim.
It's crazy.
But you see, and I think that's one of the best examples of self-control.
For sure.
The most applicable of all when it comes to what you can actually see.
Yeah.
Where it's like someone made a huge life change. And one of those things that he did was pre-decide. Mm-hmm. He decides before he walks into a restaurant what he's staying away from, what he's going to get. He talks about like a salad that like a lot of times he gets like a really good salad.
Yeah.
Which they're out there, folks. The good salads are out there. And, but I think that, like I said, the fact that the message that we hear in church inside these four walls can transform our lives outside of our faith.
Yeah.
Is awesome because it applies to the people who were new on Sunday.
Right.
And we're always thinking about the people that don't usually come to church. They got dragged to church. What are they hearing?
Yeah.
and hearing it and seeing it through their eyes, I can say without a doubt that there are people who had their entire perspective shifted
Yeah.
because of this message.
Yeah.
And with pre-deciding, and what I mean is that like it sure with on the weight side of things it absolutely applies, but pre-deciding plays into everything, like your work.
Yeah.
When I am so much more productive, and I have to do this now or else I will not be as productive, I have to pre-decide what I'm going to work on that day.
Right.
What I'm going to, whether that is a week at a time. Usually I know, like for me doing social media, I'm going to post typically like a message reel from the message on Tuesdays. I'm going to do a podcast clip on Wednesdays when this comes out. Fridays is like the See You Sunday, more like viral potential post. And like that, I have to pre-decide that stuff, because if I know that I'm going to do that on Friday, like post that See You Sunday thing, I have to line up when I'm going to shoot it this week.
Right.
So there's a domino effect of pre-deciding. And so that for me was also the biggest thing. And I'd heard it before. I believe it was Craig Rochelle with Life Church. We went to Life Church Omaha when we lived in Nebraska.
Yeah.
And that's when I first really was hit with the idea of pre-deciding. And it was like, you have got to prioritize the things that matter and pre-decide about those things.
Yeah.
So I really loved that Tim talked about that.
Yeah.
So awesome and impactful, because I remember hearing it for my first time of like, man, that makes so much sense. It's so simple. And we do a lot of things that way already, but how can I implement that more now that I know about it and become better as a result?
Right.
So,
and if I can just say really quickly, like pre-deciding can go one of two ways. And I heard this, I don't remember who said it, but it was a quote by some preacher. And he said basically, like, when it comes to pre-deciding self-control, it can go one of two ways. It's like, because I go to the gym, it's an excuse to eat this box of Tastio donuts. Like, because you do the thing, it can be an excuse for how you want to live the rest of the time. So it's like, because I go to church, because of my relationship with Jesus, does that play into the way that you're going to live outside of Sunday morning? Like, because I go to church on Sunday, I can live this way on Friday. Like, it's okay, because I'm going to go on Sunday and I'm forgiven, God of grace, all of that. And it's like, no, your self-control, like pre-deciding, because I go to church, I'm not going to participate in these things, and I'm pre-deciding that. And it's like, I love that idea, because it's easy to think about that in terms of the gym. Because I go to the gym, I have to eat this way, otherwise it's not going to work. But like translating that to our faith, like, because I follow Jesus, like I will not and I cannot give myself over to these things. I cannot participate in this stuff. It's like, when it comes to pre-deciding, it's like, know who you are, and that will affect the way that you live throughout the week.
Yeah, 100%. And the other thing I wanted to talk about in the vein of self-control is us talking about where we need self-control.
Yeah.
Because everybody needs it somewhere. And even if people don't recognize it that they need it somewhere, hopefully one of our examples of where we need it is something that people are like, oh, actually that is something I need.
Yeah.
And it's cool, because you can go in prayer and say like, God, please grant me, like, give me the self-control.
Yeah.
You talk about like Solomon in the Bible prays for wisdom, and then now he's just known as the wisest man to ever walk the earth. It's like he simply asked.
Yeah.
And so if he can ask for wisdom, which is a big ask, we can ask for self-control.
Yeah, absolutely.
So for me, in talking about self-control, I think of a few different areas for sure. I resonated with Tim talking about how like he goes in a restaurant and eats like only 3 chips.
Yeah.
Because we were talking with Randy Spear before we started recording, and he was like, no, for me, it's like, how many baskets am I going to eat
exactly.
of chips? And it's like, I think we all have the same experience unless we have pre-decided that we are not going to eat all the chips.
Exactly.
So eating is absolutely a self-control that I need. A lot of times. And so like, that's what I need it most, but also like going beyond that, I'd say my phone is a huge self-control thing.
Yeah.
Because you think of the repercussions that social media has.
Right.
I have had to learn, kind of recalibrate my brain and how I think about social media.
Yeah.
Because it's my job now.
Right.
It's so easy to just be like, yeah, I'm working.
Yeah.
But in reality, I'm seeing something that someone else has, and I'm like, oh man, I wish that could be me. I'm jealous that they have that. I want to get there one day. Like whatever it might be. But social media has so many different repercussions, not just, coveting things that
Right.
other people have, right? And so for me, self-control, it would look like with my phone, and what it does look like is that if I'm at dinner and I'm sitting down for dinner, and I am absolutely guilty of this, where the kids are kind of running around, flying around the table, and I'm like, this isn't a very intentional time, so I'm just going to pull out my phone and check my text, look at Instagram, look at Twitter, whatever that is. But for me, I think that beyond just eating, it's got to be phone use. But where are you at with self-control? What is it for you that, like, I need Jesus to intervene so I can actually accomplish and not be deterred and do these things?
Right. It's funny you say like phone use, because I was literally thinking the same thing this morning. Because you roll out of bed, what's the first thing your mind runs to? What's the first thing you grab? What's the first thing you do? All of that. And for you, you're like, the easy excuse is, oh, I'm working. Like I'm scrolling, I'm working, I'm learning. But for me, like the excuse that I have is I'm decompressing. Like it's been a long day. I just want to go home. I want to decompress. And so I go to my phone, I scroll, whatever it looks like, but it's like, there are so much healthier ways to decompress. Like if I really need it that badly, if it's been a long day and I've just been around people and talking, I just need a minute to decompress before I go into a house with a 2-year-old who's running around. It's like, okay, like, honey, I just need to go to this room for 5 minutes. Like, let me just pray for 5 minutes so that I can come out here and not be distracted, not be overwhelmed by this day. And so it's like decompressing for me is why I scroll, but it's like, there's so much healthier ways to do that.
And for me, I think that the red flag with phones is like the indicator is that it is more than just your decompressor.
Yeah.
It's also your escape. And what I mean is, like, I'll get done editing a video here, and if it took a lot out of me mentally, and I'm going frame by frame editing something and it's tedious, I get to the end of it and I'm like, time to scroll.
Yeah.
I'll pull out my phone, but don't worry, I'm working.
Right.
And while I might be doing some work doing that, because I can't help but see church-related Instagram reels on my stuff, and I might be bookmarking and saving, and like I'm partially working, I'm also really just escaping.
Yeah.
And then you come home and it's like, I need to decompress. Like, we can make up so many excuses as to why we need to use our phone. And it's like, that might be why it's a problem.
Right.
That you're able, like, you just desperately want to do it.
Yeah.
And then you walk away from it and you're like, I don't feel any fuller.
Yeah.
I don't feel any more value in my life. I don't feel more rested.
Yeah.
I don't really feel decompressed. I just want to be, like, really our excuse is like, I just want to be on my phone.
Yeah.
And so I think that's something that resonates with everybody.
For sure.
That is not just me and you. That's for sure. But yeah, man, I thought this message was genuinely incredible.
It was.
And I hope that people found the same. But Tim crushed it, and man, I can't wait till he's back in Ocala again to be preaching, because I'm sure he will be back in that, being part of that. So it'll be a lot of fun. Is there anything that you want to add, Noah, before we jump out of here?
No, I think we said it all, man.
All right. Well, appreciate you guys tuning in, whether you're watching or you're listening. We will catch you guys next time. See ya.
See ya.